Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be making a quick unboxing video of the Shun Sora. It's pretty much the entry-level line of knives with the Shun. I actually got this little guy at Costco. I'll talk about why I like it and why I don't like it, and why I would actually suggest most likely buying a set from somewhere like Amazon or somewhere else. First and foremost, like I said, the Shun Sora is the entry-level sort of knife that Shun creates. It has a couple of major differences. I'll make a separate little video explaining exactly what those differences are. But most important, I guess, or the most notable differences are, number one, it has a composite or a plastic handle versus the sort of pocket wood or whatever they call it handle that the other knives have. And number two, it's actually only two pieces of steel folded on top of each other versus I think it's the 32, the Premier and the Classic and the other lines have. So the end result is that you get a knife for much cheaper, about half the cost that you would pay for a Classic and maybe about a third of the cost that you would pay for a Shun Premier. But at the end of the day, since it's still VG10 steel, the cutting and all of that stuff is exactly the same. So the Shun Sora also, I think, has a 10-year limited warranty, whereas the Classic and the other lines, you know, the Premier, etc., all have a lifetime warranty. So that's another thing to consider. But at the end of the day, I mean, what does a warranty really cover? It doesn't cover chips, it doesn't cover broken stuff that's caused by you. So I mean, what's really going to happen? It still has a full tang and everything, so it's not like this thing is going to shatter off. And even if it does, after 10 years, you know, really, who cares? So first and foremost, I'm going to go over what's on here for you. I'll turn it around so you can maybe see it a little bit. Traditional handle design, whatever. Stainless steel logo, whatever. Full tang, which is important. It has two layers of metal sort of welded on top of each other, flattened on top of each other. That's important. VG10 steel, that's what all the high-end knives have except for SG2. It has a Haman, whatever. It looks really cool. It's polished stainless steel. And I guess the end result is, like, it's still, as you can see right here, it looks gorgeous. But at the end of the day, it does have a little bit of a cheaper price because it is actually a cheaper to make knife. So this is the set from Costco. I think it's like 300 bucks out the door, including everything. It's an 8-piece set. What that means is that you get the block, which is right there. You get a paring knife, which is right there. You get a 6-inch utility knife. You get a 6-inch chef's knife. You get this weird super utility knife, as they call it, which is pretty much a sandwich knife. You get a sentoku knife, which is like a, I don't know, pretty much a Japanese chef's knife. You get an 8-inch chef's knife. You get the honing steel, and then, like I said, you also get the block. So it's 8 pieces. And just, I guess, a quick note. Like I said, it's nice to have an 8-piece set versus like the 6 and 7-piece sets that you would normally buy from a regular cutlery store or a kitchen store. But is it really 8 pieces? Number one, like they always do, one of the pieces is the block. That's normal. But number two, you'll notice you get 2 chef's knives, which is, where is it? That guy, the 6-inch chef's knife, and the 8-inch chef's knife, which is sort of worthless, I think. You get a 6-inch utility knife, which is nice. But you also get this weird sandwich knife, which is, I mean, it's a good knife if you're going to have one. It's nice to have one. You can do tomato slices. You can do other weird things with it. It has that weird sort of shape that I'll show you in a little bit that you can use to, you know, spread jams and jellies and mayonnaise and sauces and stuff on bread. But I mean, at the end of the day, when are you going to use a super high-end knife to make a sandwich? It's probably going to chip at your mayonnaise jar. It's going to scratch little pieces of plastic in there. It's just not the best thing to use a high-end knife for, so I don't really see the point of that. So at the end of the day, you're getting a lot of, I guess, redundant knives with this, which is normal when you're getting a set, but the level of redundancy in this is pretty crazy. 2 chef's knives plus a Japanese chef's knife, a utility knife plus essentially a sandwich utility knife, and then a paring knife. Like, the only real crazy stuff that you'd be getting in this that you really need is a chef's knife, utility knife, and the honing steel, and the rest of the stuff is pretty redundant, I think. With that said, let's open it up. I actually haven't opened this little guy up yet. It's still made in Japan, which is actually pretty cool. So let's open it up. The little Shun paper. You can see in here it's well packaged, like always. Pull this little guy out. And grab this. So this is the block, this is the knives. Let's open it up. These are the knives. Come pretty much any of the Shuns you get are going to come like that. This is the honing steel. And then this is the actual block. Like I said, I'll make separate videos for each of these just to really give you a sense of what's going on with them. But just for now, just to give you an idea of exactly what you're getting, I'll do this. Okay. So there's this guy, and while I'm doing this, let me explain to you guys exactly why I would suggest getting a different Shun Sora set. Most importantly, I would say, is the fact that you're getting all these redundant knives. You're not getting a set of shears, you're not getting a bread knife, which I think are the two most commonplace beginners things you would like in a knife set. So you get a bunch of knives that don't really make much of a difference, like a 6-inch versus 8-inch chef's knife. You don't get a bread knife, you don't get shears, you get a weird sandwich knife that really, when are you ever going to use if you're going to be logical about it, unless you really like making high-end weird sandwiches. I'm just going to shred my hands in a second, I can already tell. So there we go. These are how the knives come to you. This is the honing steel. So let's look at each one by one. This is the block. It's a nice blend blue block. It comes wrapped in plastic. Who really cares? It has these little supposedly anti-marring feet on the bottom, but you know, when can you really trust it? Make sure before you start rubbing it all over your $20 million antique wood table. So one by one, let's do this. And like I said, I'll make a separate video going over all of these individually. Being careful. Here we go. This is the 8-inch chef's knife. As you can see, they are actually gorgeous. You can get a good pinch grip on it. Very, very nice. Pretty solid. This is the weird little utility knife I was telling you about. Again, it's definitely gorgeous, but I mean, really, when are you going to be using something like this? This is the 7-inch Sentoku knife. Gorgeous again. As you can see, here is the 6-inch chef's knife. This is a 3.5-inch paring. And then the, I believe it's 6-inch, yeah, 6-inch utility knife. So this is what I meant. Sort of a worthless knife, good knife, good knife, good knife. But aside from these three knives right here, which each have their own use, plus a utility knife because it's nice to have one for, you know, random tasks. If you have this already, why do you need this? Sort of dumb. And then to make this actually part of the set, of like a smaller set, to me, is sort of stupid, because how often are you planning on using essentially a sandwich knife like that? I don't know, it's sort of weird. But like I said, they have a very nice heft to them. They're very nice. This little guy is nice. Beautiful, beautiful blade. It feels like a razor blade out of the box. You can definitely, yeah, disgusting I know, but definitely just shaved my hand with it. So it's very, very sharp out of the box. Phenomenal. But like I said, in all sincerity, if you're going to get the Sora set, it might be enticing to see that great price at Costco, $300. But at the end of the day, for the same price, you can get a 7-piece set which I know sounds nuts, right? You'd like to get that extra piece, but you won't get a bunch of redundant knives. These two knives won't be in there. Let me show you this guy too. I completely forgot. So this is the honing steel right there. This would be nice, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And then normally you'd get something like a bread knife as well, or a pair of kitchen shears. That's a useful set. This is useful if your hands are too small, or smaller, in which case this would not be useful. You wouldn't want it. I don't know how often I don't know. This is just weird to me. I don't know why they would throw it in there for you, but what can you do? End of the day, though, very well built knives. You can tell the handle is actually very, very comfortable. The blades are extremely sharp. They look gorgeous, as I hope you can tell from this this video. And I'll do those up close videos soon to actually show you each of them, individually. But I would highly suggest this to somebody who is looking for an entry-level set of Japanese knives. I'll put a link down below to a set that I think would probably be the best if I were getting this again. I'll probably return this to Costco and get a smaller set down the line. I'm not 100% sure. This is actually, it was more just to see what it's like and possibly use them. I might use them as a secondary set of knives just for, like beaters, a worst case. But let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if you have any concerns. And, say whatever you want down in the comments. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be making a quick unboxing video of the Shun Sora. It's pretty much the entry-level line of knives with the Shun. I actually got this little guy at Costco. I'll talk about why I like it and why I don't like it, and why I would actually suggest most likely buying a set from somewhere like Amazon or somewhere else. First and foremost, like I said, the Shun Sora is the entry-level sort of knife that Shun creates. It has a couple of major differences. I'll make a separate little video explaining exactly what those differences are. But most important, I guess, or the most notable differences are, number one, it has a composite or a plastic handle versus the sort of pocket wood or whatever they call it handle that the other knives have. And number two, it's actually only 2 pieces of steel folded on top of each other versus I think it's the 32, the Premier and the Classic and the other lines have. So the end result is that you get a knife for much, much cheaper, about half the cost that you would pay for a Classic, and maybe about a third of the cost